Hello and welcome, guys. Welcome to Self-Built Systems Nexus. Now, you guys might be asking, Jay, what is Nexus? Now, I have been talking about this on my YouTube channel, and I've been mentioning it to you guys that I will be bringing you guys, well, number one, more higher quality content and a lot more effort being put into the content that we put out and the stuff that obviously we do and what we have learned and the people who we have been able to network with and build things with. I will be bringing them to the table. So what this will involve specifically is I will be talking to multimillionaires, basically people that run like existing companies that do more than $10,000 a month in MRR, and in my opinion, these are real players. These are real sharks, and I have one of them here today in the form of Gidyon Lankers from Disrupt Media. Welcome, Gideon. Cool.
Thank you so much.
So thanks for coming, man. So there's a fair few things that we are going to be covering today. I actually have a fair few outlined questions. But I want to start here at a standpoint is I want to quickly move into this, this space of where we are right now with everything that has happened post C word and everything that has just basically took such a big inflection point. So we have AI, we have like all of these things. So back in the day, crypto happened, AI happened, obviously businesses are popping up everywhere and they all need some sort of a distribution strategy at this moment to make them profitable. And we're going to basically be having a high level marketing related conversation today, business building conversation with Gideon, because obviously Gideon runs Disrupt Media and he's basically like a new world Gandalf, okay, in my opinion. Gandalf has to go out and he has to basically create these, so physically in my opinion, Gandalf has to go out and he has to create these experiences, right, for companies that will allow them to not only stand out but differentiate and be able to communicate their message and have a throughput, obviously, to be more a little bit brand aligned. But I will allow Gideon to kind of like give us a little bit more of his backstory and the things that he is actually involved with doing his wizard work. But without further ado, welcome, Gideon.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to be here. Yeah, thanks for setting this up.
Cool. I want to start with me just asking you the question of like, who's Gideon? Like, how would you frame Gideon? What is his mission, and where does that lead to? Why did you get into this whole kind of space where you are with the digital marketing kind of arm of things?
Yeah, I think it wasn't like a planned out thing that I knew. Some people say like when they're growing up, they always knew I was going to be a doctor or engineer, whatever it was. It wasn't like that for me at all. I think I just sort of fell into it because I was naturally interested in producing videos, music, the creative side of things. But I don't know about you, but when I was in school, digital marketing wasn't a career. Like yeah. I'd never said to someone like, hey, you could turn this skill that you have into a career or let alone a business.
Yeah.
So I think it was something that kind of just happened to me. And when I studied at Vega in Durban. So it's a really good brand and marketing school. And I think when I spent time there, I made the connection between, I can be creative and come up with ideas and help tell stories, but there's also the business element of that. So I think when I made that connection, I got really excited and I started to see a path forward of how I can actually build a team here and I can build something here. So
like provide value in finding your way. So I always see this as, it's funny enough that I actually did not know that you were also from the same province where obviously I went to school.
Yeah, I'm from Mpumalanga.
Anyways, so if you guys don't know where that is somewhere in South Africa. But anyway, so sticking to the point here is that like when we're always like moving through kind of like trying to find our thing, trying to like stick to a certain point is like, I also actually went in that direction. My first year after school was going to Durban as well, but I played rugby at the Sharks Academy, and I also started basically I didn't really know what I needed to get into. Like, so I knew I had a knack kind of like for business. I just did not know what exactly it was. Like, there was so many shiny objects all around, different kinds of vehicles that you could get into. But to me, it was literally learning a little bit, number one, a little bit more about the world and being away from people, obviously in a position, in a place where you didn't know anyone helped a lot. I mean, like being able to like fend for yourself and number one, learn more about the world and learn a little bit more about yourself in that process. Because I had a lot of time alone. I don't know if you can kind of relate.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of having time alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I come from quite a small family. I have 3 siblings, but we all live in different parts of the world. So my siblings are much older than me. They live in Vietnam, Belgium, and England. And my parents live in Hoedspruit. So it wasn't like I grew up in one town and I stayed in that town. It was kind of like we were all just doing our own thing. So I definitely spent a lot of time alone. Spend time with friends and obviously the girlfriends and stuff. But yeah, I had a lot of time to reflect and think, read books, and just think about like, where do I want to take this this opportunity that I have? Where do I want to go with my life? I was fortunate that my parents are very hands off. They didn't try to push me in any career. They actually just said, figure it out for yourself and find your own path. And I think whatever I said that I wanted to do, they would have been cool with it. And so. That was a blessing in disguise. At the time, it was tricky because I felt a bit lost. I didn't know what to do and sort of went down different avenues. But it was cool. And I feel like what I'm doing now is what I really love and what I should be doing.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. So,
interesting. Very, very interesting. Like, I like the fact that you hooked it to the girlfriend aspect of things. So right now I don't have a girlfriend, but I want to quickly just touch on that topic with relationships and things here. So when you're out there and you're attempting to build something, right? There is a lot of these things, as I've actually kind of like mentioned, shiny things, right? So this could be many things that could take your attention and your focus away from the actual building and the doing of the work, of the activities that needs to obviously get the needle moving or get your footing into the services or the kind of thing that it is that you're bringing to this world. Because I truly believe that a focused man essentially is, one of the most dangerous people that you can find. Again, but there are different areas in life that obviously you need to, number one, I don't believe in balance, the concept around balance, but I do believe in, there are certain areas like relational, financial, spiritual, that, for example, if you focus so hard on this financial, I believe, number one, I learned this from Naval Ravikant, but he said that basically solve money first and then focus on all the other things later. To me, that was very relevant to me, and I'm going to hook this towards why I'm saying this right now, because I came from a small town in the middle of nowhere, literally with like one street, and the trucks used to sleep in that street, kind of like that kind of effect. But like that helped me because I always used to, kind of needed to have the path of working hard, but never truly, having everything at my disposal. As you said, you needed to go out and like your parents, that example. So I was kind of in a similar situation, but my point is this all came to me of understanding that if you solve money first, then that allows you to have different sets of you have stored capital. If you have that stored capital, you can put the energy into different directions. So meaning also if you go out, and I want to know what's your opinion, and this is my whole thing, if you go out and you play the Tinder game and you play the dating game, which is one game that you can play, and you can go on these little short-term games, or you can choose to play a long-term game with someone, but you never know, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're building a business or when you're doing something, it's very hard to find someone that can actually, kind of like understand the entrepreneurial kind of thought if she is not an entrepreneur, right? Kind of like situation. So it's kind of interesting because I've seen people that date entrepreneur kind of like both kind of come together, and I've seen kind of the other relationship too. So what is your viewpoint on like these little short-term games or long-term games? Like how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I can only give my opinion. That doesn't mean it's the right way necessarily. I think everyone can find out, for them what makes sense. I know for me, like I value the long-term game. I've never really like played around. Yeah, my personality doesn't match that. And yeah, I think my girlfriend now, she lives in Cape Town with me, and she's not an entrepreneur, but she knows that as well. She doesn't want to be an entrepreneur, but she's incredibly hardworking. Like she's driven. She wasn't given everything in life. She's had to hustle to where she is. And even today, I messaged her this morning, said, I hope you have a great day. I'm going to be busy. I'm not going to have a chance to chat to you. And she's cool about that. She gives me space and lets me do my thing. So I think my opinion is that you just need to be with someone who has a similar worldview, like you're building together towards the same place. And if you are in this game and you're building a business, it obviously is a crazy journey. You're not going to have time, 3 hours every single night, weekends off. Sometimes you got to hustle. And yeah, I think as long as you're with somebody who understands what the sacrifice is for and what you're building towards, I think you'll be good. I had this conversation with one of my close friends yesterday. He's been seeing a girl, and she's been trying to say to him, like, you should work less and you should be more balanced. And him and I were both saying, like, that's not us. Like, we're not balanced people. All the people we look up to, whether it's in business or sports or entertainment, they're not balanced people. Like, all the people who do great things. And I think you got to be careful if you're getting into a relationship that, you know, someone will tell you, like, this is for balance, like, you should work less for balance, but that might not actually be what's good for you, and where, you know, that's not going to help you get to where you should be going. So yeah, that's some of my thoughts on that. What do you think?
Very interesting. Yeah, for me, it's been, like, right now I don't have a girlfriend, but for me, it's been understanding that this path that I'm going to give you my full take on it, but, like, for me, it's been like this. So it's understanding that we learn things when we engage with certain people. So if we choose to play a lot of short-term games, which is, I'm not saying that is completely wrong, because there's a lot of people that want to optimize for it, which is okay with being okay and that essential. But I still see the most consistency in finding someone. Like, it's been hard, obviously, for me to kind of, like, obviously being able to, you know, find someone that you can really mess with and it can really understand, you know, that situation. So I mean, like, that is a hard thing, okay? So once you find that, once you experience that, I mean, I believe you should hold on to it and work on it, because, like, a relationship at the end of the day, it's not a perfect world. There are always things that you can work on from a psychological standpoint to that being rolled over to life and business and all these things. Because I always say, like, I don't believe that life is a game. However, I do believe business is a game. So if you can understand that there are things, I also don't believe in completely compromising, like, you know, like, because that's on a balance standpoint, like, you compromise certain things and now you're no longer pushing towards the person that you're bound to become because someone else is telling you, hey, no, you should come out with me, you should come out with us, you should do this, you should do that, taking your energy away from the thing that you're actually working on, which will allow you or the person that you're seeing kind of like to come to an inflection point of growth. Because at the end of the day, all the things that we do, all the business that we do, all the chats that we have, the connections that we build, I always ask myself the question, okay, well, what's the point? And I'm like, okay, we're working, like, but, like, what is the actual point? Why are we doing these things? So to me, this all stems towards a growth point, okay? So all of our actions, that we go to the gym, we do this, we do that, like, we work out, we're outside, but so there's some sort of fulfillment connected to the process. So long story short, like, I believe that if you can, in my own opinion, this is what I aspire to, is to find someone that I can build something with in the long term, right? But I don't just want to be in a relationship with someone. I want to be able to build with that person. I want to be able to challenge that person. And I want to be able to, you know, I want that person to also challenge me. Because, like, you kind of get where that comes from. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think I have two thoughts that I can share. There's things that I've learned. So the one is, it's very different aspects of your life, right? So, and I feel like you have to be fulfilled in both of them. So there's been times where I've been doing well financially, and, like, the business side of things has been going strong, but I've not been in a relationship, and all in all, I wasn't happy. Like, no matter how many, like, invoices would come in or clients I'd land, it would be such a short little peak of happiness, and then it would just flatline. So I know that the two don't intersect, so you can't compensate for the one with the other. Like, if you're not happy in a relationship, or if you want to find a partner, whatever it is, and you don't have that, no matter how much money you make and how much success you have, media attention, it's not going to fulfill that area of your life. And vice versa, you can be in a great relationship, but if you are frustrated with your work, you don't feel like you know, making an impact in the world, I could see that also being like subpar. So I do say, like, look at it as two entirely separate categories. Make your work and your hustle, and that's what you're giving back to the world. And your relationship, look at that differently and build that separately. And I do think for most people, like, it's good to have both. Like, you should be fulfilled in both.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. And the other thing was my belief is kind of like, as a man, you have really two major decisions to make in your life. The one is, what are you going to do in the world? Like, what are you going to give back to the world? And the other one is, who are you going to partner with? Like, who are you going to make your wife? And especially, like, I know you're a bit younger than me. I'm in my late 20s. You're in your early 20s. It's sometimes you don't know. Like, you don't know who you're going to partner with, who your wife is going to be, and you're still figuring out what you're going to do career-wise. And so there are these two big question marks about your life. But I can say, like, once you've figured out and, like, you've just made a decision and committed to, here's what I'm going to do, here's what I'm going to build in the world, and this is the person I'm going to, you know, partner with. There's a lot of peace that comes with that, because it's not like decisions anymore. It's like, you've made your decision, you've committed, and now all you have to do is just build in each of those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've found that being on the other side of that is It brings a lot of peace.
It's refreshing to hear that. You don't always hear that from people. So let's take a stroll into the business kind of side of things, right? So now throughout this process, we both work with kind of like a similar like archetype in clients. So if we refer to like the tech archetype or the tech founder, okay? So why would you say that's kind of been you leaning more towards that side on a marketing perspective and the way that you guys fulfill and solve the problems for these people? Why would you say that you chose that route, and how did you find your kind of like angle towards that? Why not something like Kairos or kind of like this
more
thing,
traditional?
the thing that all the big boy YouTubers sell you, kind of like that kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few sort of key differentiators that I think made sense. So first of all, there's urgency. So tech founders want to grow quickly, whereas a more traditional business, they're happy with 10% year-on-year growth. Like, we're growing steadily. It's a family business. This construction company has been in our family for generations. Why do we all of a sudden need a scale? They don't really use the word scale. Whereas with tech companies, it's like, okay, let's throw money at this and let's scale and get an exit. So I like that urgency that they come with. They want to get things done. They want to move quickly.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. I love that mindset, and I think that's where we can perform really well for them.
Yeah.
So it's the urgency, and then the second thing is also just budgets. Like, they're just playing at a different level. They raise money, they get millions of rand or millions of dollars, and they're ready to pump that into marketing and into scale. So they've got urgency and they've got budget, and I think that's exactly where we can step in and say, fantastic, give us that budget, we'll help you deploy it in the right places, we'll help you grow quickly. And what we can do with a tech company in a year might be the same relative like brand growth or marketing growth as a traditional business would do in, I think, 5 years or 10 years, just by going slowly. So yeah, I think it's just a fast-paced game, and we fit nicely in that space. And also I think that there's a gap there. I don't think other traditional marketing agencies are the best in terms of understanding how to showcase a tech product that's new, because there's a big educational component there, especially if it's a new payment gateway or a AI program or something that is not well known. People know what a chiropractor is, they know what a physio is, they know what a plumber is, right? But they don't necessarily know what a one-way video interview software is.
Yeah.
So I think that component of that challenge of educating people about what this is and like showcasing that through content makes them an awesome client for us.
Yeah. So I always think in terms of this is if you're a really dangerous business person or marketing person. I think a lot of CEOs, a lot of the great CEOs, you can look at the Steve Jobs, etc., those kind of caliber homies. Basically, they obviously, Steve Jobs was the marketing kind of like muscle. Okay, like he allowed Apple to be what it is today. Okay, you can
100%,
you can have all of the engineering, but obviously it's the marketing that sells, right? So in my opinion, to bring it back to this point, is that all that budget, if you look at these big companies, if they have fat marketing budget, right, like, and you have a great marketer, like, then there's a lot that happens, okay? There are a lot that can happen in a span of like 1 to 2 to 3 months, and obviously the throughput, like within the longer term perspective. So I do tend to agree with you on that note, because like for us, it's also been the fact that we lean towards more of a performance side, so performance marketing kind of like angle of things, where it's been really for us with the companies and the people that we work with being able to truly justify based on ROI. So based on, okay, here's all of the companies that we've worked with, here's what has happened, let's get to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, like if not now, then when? Kind of like that kind of scenario. Because at the end of the day, one thing I found is that a lot of tech founders, whether it's a bro engineer or whatever is happening there, they're so super tunnel vision and focused on getting that thing to be good, like getting that product to be the best or good. They lose track of the broader perspective of the machine. So meaning that the pool of money that they've raised, the 50 mil that they raised, the 100 million that they raised, they slowly just burning through that money. They might be, so what I've seen is a lot of companies will play marketing games. So they'll engage with the cute things, the building of the website, like the pumping out of social media stuff, which they don't really have the return on what they're doing, because they don't track that, the kind of like qualitative, quantitative side of things within the data collection side, and they don't really have the throughput with that's why we lean on the performance side. But again, it comes back to the capital, like that capital that they have to deploy. They need to find product market fit. if they don't find product market fit, or if they don't know whether they have product market fit or not, that's kind of like where we step in to help them find capital efficiency. I don't know what your view is on product market fit, because I always have this conversation with different people on product market fit, because it usually just means that you get people, there's metrics that you can justify product market fit on, but like if we look at it, for example, stepping away from the tech world, if it was any other company that needed to find product market fit, it simply means that you got someone to give you $1 for the thing that you have, obviously, and then you make some sort of a profit. So what is your view? I don't know if you have a view on product market fit.
Yeah, for sure. I think from what I've seen is that when you have product market fit, and I'm not saying that necessarily that we have this, or all of our clients have this, but we've had lots of conversation about this, is that I think you don't have time to like think about your company culture and your values and like putting a coffee machine in the office and stuff. It's more just a case of like people are coming at us and knocking on our door so fast that we are like scaling like crazy, and we just have to do everything we can to keep our servers from melting down, and keep the doors open and just make sure that this thing doesn't tank. That's the level of urgency and like the adrenaline rush of what I've heard for product market fit. And it's probably like on a spectrum. There's different levels. Like you can have somebody that has like a stable business that's steadily growing 14% a year, whatever it is. You could say that's some level of product market fit, but I think that true product market fit is probably when the least of your concerns is finding new customers, and all of your concern shifts towards like, how are we going to service all these people? This is getting out of control. This is nuts.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the quality of the customer obviously plays a big role in that too.
The last thing I'll say on that is, and I'm keen to get your feedback, is probably if you are worried about where your leads are coming from, and you're like, doing door-to-door sales or cold calls, whatever it is, that you probably don't have product market fit, I would say.
Well, yeah. So in the way that we look at solving that specific problem is that, so this is a conversation I had with a recent tech company that we onboarded now. So their whole thing was they had a SaaS related model too. Now, what happens is if you, let's say you got that capital, you got that pool of capital, which is all fantastic. And I'm going to bring it back to my point. The way that is deployed, so what we solve for essentially is capital efficiency in the fastest way humanly possible. How do you solve for capital efficiency on the front end? Is basically knowing that, okay, you have this thing. Some people have given you money for this thing, but how do you get that little hockey stick curve that everyone always talks about? The way that you get there is obviously justifying, number one, your unit economics. So what does that mean? It means that your acquisition costs on the front end and on the back, well, basically looking at the front end and the back end of the machine, is that like everything that happens here and there, what does that look like? So meaning if we have efforts on the acquisition, which is either some sort of a direct approach, you know who you are serving, you know your ticket, well, number one, your unit economics based on acquisition, so meaning the price, like the sales cycle, everything on that perspective. How do we look at all of those things, and how do we get as much money as we can to put it back into some acquisition efforts? Okay, so how do we do that? It's like looking in terms of this, based on the door knocking perspective. You can door knock on the internet too, obviously. It's like you can send, it's getting harder though. It's getting harder and harder, and all of the, in my opinion, what I've seen right now is all of the scammy kind of operations, all of the things that happened with regards to outputting volume of like just like, kind of like messages or things in that area. You can no longer do that, because the platforms are getting more regulated in the sense of like regulating certain things. So you now also seen recently Instagram put out something where you can only send one message to, for an example, someone you don't follow this person, whatever that perspective might be. You can only send one message, and then obviously you can't spam a bunch of things. So my perspective on this is, yes, you can. I believe that before you even jump to any sort of like advertisement or any of that, you need to, number one, justify your unit economics with something like outbound prospecting. Because if you can justify your unit economics with a clear related message, is that if you have a bunch of, which we call evolutionary hunters, basically that understand the landscape of the perspective of what's going on, and specifically the message that correlates with who you're trying to talk to, and you can get your market message on that wavelength to resonate with the people who you are serving, is you have the highest throughput. Because again, you justify that through hitting certain people. Okay, you justify that through hitting certain people, and then you take that over to your advertising efforts or something like that, maybe, because that's how you increase it on the throughput. You have different selling mechanisms on that, but that's just my opinion on it, because you don't need to spend money to do the first. You maybe need to spend a tiny bit of money to do the first one, but it's again getting that machine rolling, pumping it into another machine. So meaning that you have all these different sorts of like efforts and energy. So if you look at So energy expenditure on the day. You wake up, you do X, Y, Z, and you have all your leverage dialed in. So you have code, you have capital, you have media, and let's say you have AI also dialed in. Now, if you have your sales machine running, you have your marketing machine running, they should come together. And we're basically, how we serve for Self-Built Systems is we're in the inflection of the sales and the marketing archetype. I mean, like, you guys are fantastic at what I've obviously seen everything that you guys do. We've even had chats on working together on a few things. But for me, it was basically understanding that like you say, how can you serve? Where do you fit in? Because to me, that's my personality lies in being the
knocking on doors.
Yeah, that's my personality. So that's like, I will do whatever I have to do. Like, I will, like, it kind of fits in where if you play I want to bring it back to like gaming kind of like concept here. If you are a rusher, if you play like first person games and you're a rusher, like assault kind of, like, that's kind of me. Like, I thought I was kind of like this sniper kind of guy, but me, I was like, yes, I am strategic in the way I move and the things I do, but I'm the guy that gets things done. That's kind of my mentality, and it's a big part of something that I've molded. But in the way that we solve things, this is kind of how this came together in the inflection of like building, selling, and doing all of these certain things, where it's so cool because now I know where I fit, and now I know also how I serve, and also to crank up the leverage. How do we do that? How do we build these teams? How do we get more output, and how do we get more throughput on everything that we do? So it's basically having a full like perspective on all of the ops that you run. Again, then justifying how you do that basically with the math, with the unit economics, and basically understanding your leverage, where that lies. Are you pushing all the buttons that you can be pushing, or are you doing everything yourself? On that kind of perspective. I don't know where you lie on the leverage point.
No, I understand the point. I think there's a place for both. So if we talk about knocking on doors and doing a lot of outbound and, sort of almost like aggressive, like within your control type marketing, I think there's a place for that, and there's businesses and products that works really well for, and you can scale that up, and you can almost like throw salespeople at the problem. We kind of on the other side of things. We're on the side of build a really strong reputation, build a great product, teach people about that product, build trust, and over time that compounds and people come to you. And there's a place for both of those, but we're definitely on that side of things. And I've tried that approach with knocking on doors. I hired a salesperson for 3 months for our agency, and I said, cold emails, LinkedIn messages, we tweak the copy on those messages, send them out to entrepreneurs. Here's your profile, let's book meetings, let's get them in the room with us. And after 2.5 months, that just really didn't work for us. We've also tried running ads for our agency to drive traffic to our website. It just didn't work. And I think for me, I'm glad that I did it because it was a good learning curve. But it's like hiring an agency or any sort of B2B service-based business, it's a big commitment. It's almost like getting into a relationship or partnering with someone or hiring someone.
Yeah.
And no one's going to see an ad and say, great, I'm going to partner with you guys for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
They have no idea who you are. They have no personal referral.
Yeah.
So I think I've kind of learned that on our side is let's not waste our time with that for now. Let's invest our resources into building a great reputation, delivering a phenomenal service, retaining our clients, amazing our clients so that they talk about us when people see their content and see their marketing. And so far that's worked. I mean, we've been signing up clients like pretty steadily this year. And it's all people that have come to us and said, hey, I've seen what you've done for this brand. I've seen what you've done for this entrepreneur.
That's the most powerful state that you can reach.
And when they do that, it's the sales process itself is very easy because the trust is there. They've come to you. It's a very different thing. Like if you're at a bar and you approach someone versus they approach you, very different interaction there. So I think that's where we double down and that's what we try and do and set up for our clients. But the thing is that it's not, you have to be patient with it and you have to trust in it because it doesn't kickstart immediately. Whereas if you start running ads and doing cold outbound, that you see results quickly and that's exciting in the short term.
Interesting. Yeah, just to add to your knowledge there, I believe it's also the type of, like I said, with this whole game theory perspective is like it's the type of game you choose to play. So if we look at the broad perspective of the internet make money world, if you look in terms of like players that essentially optimize to sell high ticket something, okay? That whole model, it's justified, but I just don't believe that whole model is the way that you provide a lot of value. Now, am I saying that we don't have some sort of a similar angle in how we do things? Of course we do. However, it's just that once we truly understand where the intentions are, what's being optimized for, okay, real results, this is my point here, real results with a company. You see a lot of these guys that run these high-ticket coaching programs and stuff, their results are like iffy. Like it's I got iffy results. It's because it takes time to get a company. For example, if you have a case study where you took a company from doing like $10,000 to $50,000 or $10,000, even zero to like 1 million, right? That whole thing takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of investment and energy from not only the founder but the founder's team. Okay. If you're a CEO, you still have to do stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't just sit back and everything just happens.
Sure.
You know, like, so for me, it's like understanding that the effort required, yes, it's there. The scalability is also there, whether it does not, we don't run an agency model, but however, if you do run an agency model, I want to quickly just latch onto this thing. I think I've mentioned it off of camera to you, but to wrap this all around this whole idea is that if you do run an agency, there's huge scalability on understanding how you have the scale component. So if you've justified your case studies, whatever your case studies are like, and you understand how you can deliver that on mass scale, because this is how it is. Services that we render as, if you are, like for example, if you are an agency, okay, that kind of service that you render, you can do that on mass scale, but you start with one-on-one, then you start to one-to-many. So that's kind of like this little online model that you see, which is fine. But that's how you serve a multitude of people, but your results won't be the same. As is where you're trying to actually build a big corporation, kind of like where you know hands-on that the results that you get with these people, you're not just giving them some course or something. You know that the work and the stuff that you do hands-on is obviously where the throughput is. But again, that's a chat for leverage and all that stuff where what you're really trying to build and what you're really trying to do at the end of the day. But this all comes back down to, like, this is the thing I mentioned, like you will get heterogeneous results. There's this thing called the heterogeneous problem. So if you run an agency or some sort of a thing, that agency model perspective is that the more clients you onboard, the crappier your service starts to get.
Yeah.
Because you start paying attention to your highest paying clients or to your more important clients with the things that you need to do and the teams that you need to build. So you hit heterogeneous around $10,000 to $20,000 in MRR. Simply because of throughput and some bottlenecks that you keep hitting with the service that you're delivering. So that's kind of where the leverage and the scale components come in, and understanding how you build and structure. And like, I mean, I spend an enormous amount of money and a stupid amount of money on information and courses. I buy like one, probably two new every month. I just do it. I'm like, okay, if I can understand what's going on here, I can understand with it, even if it's like something I want to get your attention based on our time here. But I want to get this is a question I have for you here. With everything that's happening, right, on the AI perspective, all this ChatGPT stuff, all this generative AI, number one, I want to know what your view is on that and how you kind of see it, just on your perspective, and then I'll give you my little overview on what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you when we sat down, I'm not a tech expert, so I'm not going to pretend to be. I think there are people who are early adopters of technology, and these are the guys who are obsessed with crypto when it comes out, and Dogecoin, and this and that and that. So I don't sit in that camp. I'm more, I'll see what happens in the market. It needs to be practical for me. Like, that's great that it's on the blockchain, and cool, I can buy whatever,
It also
NFT.
means that you're focused, though. It means that you're focused in what you're doing, though.
It's just a personality thing. I'm sure we all know one person who like knew about Bitcoin like way before anyone else. It's because that was interesting to them.
Well, that's me with AI, though. That's where I lie with AI. Okay. Not to cut you short on what you were saying there, but like that's where I lie with AI. Like I actually like it, and I not only like it, but I love it. I only reached the stage where I love it when I could truthfully understand the tech. Like, because you need to really, like, a Bitcoin
needs to be practical,
You know that little adoption curve?
Yes,
I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like I felt that with AI 6, 7, 8 months ago, 9 months ago. Like I felt that because I could understand intelligence on a perspective of like, if you ask anyone really smart that you know what is intelligence, they'll tell you it's some sort of like information processing. The faster you can process information and have output, feedback system, output, all that stuff. And AI is what allows you to do more of that, faster, build faster, move faster. Like,
I agree with that, yeah.
You know, like all these things. But the physical application thereof is still what a lot of like business owners and even SaaS tech companies that they struggle with, okay? Because I will say this though, if you, for an example, are a tech founder, like I only know this because I speak to them like on an everyday basis. Like the conversations that I have, like kind of strategy sessions that we have is that you don't reach product market fit through plugging in AI, okay? It's not how you reach product market fit. Yeah, like that gets after. Once your machine is running, like all those things is like really running smooth, yeah, then you add the leverage components of the AI. But yeah, man, I don't know.
Yeah, to recap there, like there's a Jeff Bezos quote from an interview where he's like, don't ever fight back against technology, or like don't ever push back against it. Like you should always lean into it. And I've always remembered that, is like, whether it's AI or, you know, whatever is coming in future, is like, don't ever resist it. Like lean into it, you know, find out how it can be useful to you and adopt it, and basically like make friends with it, use it. Don't ever push back against that, because you'll always lose.
Yeah, can't fight the tech.
In that sense, like I am excited about it.
Can't fight
I
the
think
tech.
there are tools that are useful. You've seen that tool where the AI, it's like an AI plugin that edits your podcast in Premiere Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. That saves hours of work. Obviously, ChatGPT, using that for copywriting. So when the tools become practical and they actually save us time or money, I mean, I can be transparent. I hired an agency in Cape Town to build our website. It cost 60,000 Rand. I was going to hire a copywriter to write the copy. I got quoted for 15,000 Rand. That was right when ChatGPT launched publicly in November last year. I saw that on Twitter. I was so excited. I was terrified that they were going to take it down. So within like 2 or 3 days, I did 8 pages of copy on my website using ChatGPT. And that copywriting cost went down from 15,000 Rand to like 1,500 Rand just to get a copywriter to just tweak it and fix the language.
And the output, right?
So the time and the money saving there practically for me was insane. And so when the tools become useful like that, then I'm the biggest fan.
Yeah. So just a last little note here. So specifically, just before we wrap it up here, is that for me, you've seen this. I 100% agree with the angle that you took there, right? So you've seen this thing called, I don't know if you've seen this, called AAA. Thank gosh you haven't seen it yet. To me, it's like the Barbie model. Okay, so these marketers that spun up this whole AAA thing, the new thing. Okay, I always watch the market. I'm obsessed with watching the market, with watching what new things pop up here and there, and like so these marketers they went out. There's one guy from New Zealand that made it popular, called it AAA, AI Automation Agency. Now, in all fairness, there are things that you can solve for on that perspective. We solve for a lot of those things actually in what we do, like the bot building components and the actual like application building components with the AI and stuff. But that's really all they're doing. But they're selling it in the new way of like structuring it around a course and then basically selling the course. But it's like I said, all fair in love, business, and war. But people just need to understand that thing is not new. Okay, I don't like you've never seen it, but which is good, in my opinion, which is good. Like it's not new. Okay, it's not new, and it's basically something we have to work on to understand that. Obviously, marketing has been around for a long time. AI has been around for a long time, and now people are just taking the nuanceness in it, putting it together.
Buzzwords,
nuanceness, putting it together, and shooting it out into the world, and making it seem like some new fantastic opportunity. But that's my view on it. But
the thing is, it gets reinforced though, because like startups that follow a trend, like we're a property tech startup. Okay, cool, that's a trend right now. They get acquired and they raise money. They enter into these award shows, whatever it is. They win competitions. They get funding. So there's like this reinforcement cycle where it's like, oh, you are a company. This is a trend, that we're looking into. Whatever it is, fantastic. You guys have got some sort of traction and team going. We're going to give you money. So I do think there's like a reinforcement cycle there, and I don't think that will ever change. As these new fields and industries and stuff open up, I do think there will always be entrepreneurs who jump on those buzzwords and give keynotes about them.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I'm not hating on it at all. I just want people to understand what's actually happening there, right? Like, if they're making money doing the thing, then by all means. I just want people to understand what's really happening there. Like, it's not revolutionary, because like all the things like that, you will see a lot of these companies, they'll slap AI at the end, like they're company name .ai, and those companies will be gone within inside of 6 to 12 months. They will be gone.
We'll see.
Okay,
and some of them will be huge as well, right? I think the best lens to look at any business that I've learned is like, what is the problem that you're solving? And it's always like, it's surprising to me that how often people forget about this, and they're like, but this amazing technology, and you can connect it to your wallet, and then it's on your Google Chrome account. You've got the NFT in your wallet, and you always have to be like, why do I care? Why does this solve a problem in my life? And sometimes people forget that. And I think it's cool to have an AI company or an AAA agency, but just don't forget that like you have to solve a problem, and the amount of money that you earn, or the scale at which your company grows, is in direct proportion to the problem that you're solving.
Yeah.
Right? And the bigger the problem, the more people who experience a problem, the bigger your company.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people do just take technology and get excited about it and try to make a company around it, and they forget that you're not really solving a issue.
I'll wrap this up in saying this like this. So for me, it's like understanding threat level 1 opportunities. So on a scale perspective of where everyone is trying to solve for something because some YouTuber sold you or someone sold you into that narrative of that thing, okay? Like it's understanding that, again, what is the problem that we are solving? Is there a need for that problem? And what do the world really need? Like, do they need another one of these businesses? Do they need another one of these things, right? And it's then understanding that how can you, as, like I said, with my personality, how we solve for things, I'm very direct, I'm very like cutthroat kind of scenario, kind of like go, go, go. But at the end of the day, like you have a different personality. I have a different personality, and that all comes together. So my last question for you here is, Gideon, it's going to be a little burst round that I have here, which I prepared for us here. So I'm literally going to say one word, or you know, I'm gonna say one word, and then you just specifically the first thing that comes to your mind, you tell me what that is.
Got it. Got it.
Okay. So Manchester United.
That's my team. Difficult to support sometimes.
Elon Musk.
Legend.
Dubai.
Opportunity.
Women.
Complicated, beautiful creatures.
Couldn't agree more. Jordan Peterson.
Wise.
Money.
A tool.
AI.
The future.
Porsche 1911.
A collector's item.
Outer space.
Dangerous.
Barbie.
Clueless.
Anyways, man, fantastic. It was really, really good having you here, having this conversation. It was actually a lot of fun. I enjoy these conversations.
Likewise.
And we will be bringing a lot of these. I will be actually going down to Cape Town, and we'll be probably having episode 2 with Gideon soon, hopefully.
100%.
And yeah, Gideon, thanks for coming through. Thanks for sharing your input.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we'll definitely do this again. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this first ever episode of Self-Built Systems Nexus. Now I know I have recorded another episode, so whichever one comes out first, it will be with another special guest, obviously someone that you guys have seen all over the internet, but I will keep that in conclusion for when that comes out. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.